Pope retires. Okay. So real quick, guys, the Pope is retiring. You know, he's not really a Pope. There's no such thing as a Pope. But anyway, this guy they call the Pope is going to step down out of his position, it seems. About they're making him step down. But what's interesting about that, too, is the fact that the Pope prophecy is being fulfilled. Or is it? I guess that's the big question, because if that's the case, then is he the last Pope? Okay, so there's a Pope prophecy. And let's just look here. And the prophecy of the popes. And I've talked about this before, but the prophecy of popes basically was a prophecy written by Archbishop Malachi, Malachi, however you want to pronounce it. And he wrote basically stanzas about all the popes that will come after his time. He was basically appalled. He saw all the decadence of the popes and compared it to all the poverty around him. And so it got him really upset, and he wrote this prophecy of the popes. And basically in this prophecy, I think at the bottom it shows it, he gives a list of all the popes that are to come. And they all match up with the popes that have come. And if you go through it and you count, we are now at the final pope, which makes sense since this is the end of the world. So you go all the way down, I think it's like 112 popes that you go through, and you can find this, this is on Wikipedia here, but you can find information about it throughout the internet, the prophecy of popes. But basically, it's taking forever to scroll here. If you get down, let me just grab this thing and scroll. It's like I have it blown up for you guys so you can see it better, but then it takes longer for me to get through the page. But it's worth it for you. 112. So, okay. So basically this last guy, the last pope here, was Joseph Ratzinger, that's Pope, what they call Pope Benedict. Okay. The guy who retired, Benedict, that was number 111, the glory of the olive. See, they even got his picture there, man. They got everybody here. See that? So they're saying he is the 111th Pope. Well, then you go to this thing and it says, in the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit. And that's all it says. While often read as part of Peter the Roman. Let me go over here. I feel like this page is getting cut off. Are we not seeing everything here? Let me back off from this page a little bit. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. Yeah, I think it was too close. So, okay. So basically, it says, forms a separate sentence and paragraph. While often read as part of Peter the Roman prophecy, other interpreters view it as a separate incomplete sentence, explicitly referring to additional popes between glory of the olive and Peter. So some people think that there's going to be a bunch of other popes that aren't talked about in between this pope, Ratzinger, Benedict, and the end. But others don't believe that. It just, they think all because of this line that says, in the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit. So they think, that's a separate thing, but it doesn't really say that, right? But what does it say? Well, number 112 says, Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished. See, if you read this as one sentence, it says, in the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit Peter the Roman, who will pasture his church, his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. The end. That about sums it up. So that's where they're looking at this last guy as being the last pope, that he actually could be that guy, that he's going to be the final pope. And if he's about to retire, that also pushes it, pushes the end. It pushes the tribulation to happen to coincide. If it's going to coincide, not that God's following this, obviously it's the other way around, but if this prophecy is going to coincide with with the dreadful judge judging his people in the end, then it has to happen quickly for it to match up with Peter the Roman, as they call him. Now, they all have different names that aren't their actual names. Like this guy's called Glory of the Olive. This guy's called From the Labor of the Sun. John Paul on the Half of Moon, Flower of Flowers. But what's interesting is when you go back to this guy's heritage, I guess he does have, he takes his name, who is this guy? Pope Francis? Francis, right? He takes it from Francis of Assisi, whose real name, I believe, is Peter, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just look that up real quick. Francis of Assisi, because all these guys take on other names, right? It's not their real name. It's their baptism name, so to speak. I think kind of in the spirit of Peter, taking on Peter versus Simon. So St. Francis of Assisi, real name. Oh, see it? See, here it is. His real name is Giovanni di Pietro, or Peter de Bernardone, and he's actually Roman.